Okay, so yeah, we're just gonna call this the Eye-dyssey because it has pretty much been an epic that even Homer would be proud of. So, how did this whole detached retina thing start? Well, let me tell you. It was great. Well, first off, obviously, I've always been blind. I'll just run through that so I can make this a whole one video to explain when people constantly now ask. I was born with what we thought was toxoplasmosis. It ends up that it was genetic herpes of the eye. I know. Exciting. So that caused some scarring in my retina and some calcification in my brain. And that was all good. I had 20/200 in my left eye, and I think about 20/800 in my right. So barely legally blind, not bad. About 06, when I was 16, I got my first herpes flare-up, which took me down to 3/1600 in my left eye, and pretty much able to count fingers in my right eye. In 2000, well, when I was 25, so 9 years after 06, so 2015, I got another breakout in my right eye. That one was okay. That one didn't really do all that much. My eye pressure got a bit high for a while. They were playing with the idea of taking it out, but it came down. Kind of boring, really. No more long-term damage from that one. And then in September, my left eye started to hurt a little bit, off and on. I thought it was allergies because I had been having really bad allergies over the year, especially over the summer. So I was like, okay, well, it's probably just allergies. We're not going to worry about it, whatever. That was on a Friday. And it progressively kind of felt like I might have another infection or something, but it went off and on. That Monday, it was red, and so we got into the doctor either that Tuesday or that Wednesday. It was when the last storm hit Houston, which I think was like on the September the 20th or something. So went to go see the doc, and she was like, well, I'm betting it's probably a herpes outbreak. I'm going to give you this. Your cornea doesn't look great, so I'm going to send you over to another doctor. That other doctor was like, well, I can't really tell if it's toxoplasmosis or if it's herpes, because at the time, we thought it was, again, toxoplasmosis or the cyclomatic virus. And in order to, the treatment for one would have made the other one worse. So he was like, I want you to go, well, he's like, first off, it might not even be that. It might be allergies or preferentitis or whatever. So he recommended eye washes, but said to go ahead and if it got bad, to take the drops that the first doctor had given me. Friday of that week, my eye hurt really, really bad. And the eye washes weren't doing it. They just fucking hurt. So I was like, okay, well, this ain't good. So later that week, we went to go see him again. He still wasn't sure what it was, and he sent me to another doctor. And she was like, well, we should do a biopsy. And I'm like, do we have to? And she's like, well, we do need to know what's causing it. She is the first doctor to say, hey, I think that it was probably herpes that made you go blind when you were born. You know, probably wasn't herpes. She was guessing HSV, either 1 or 2. It turns out that CMV is actually herpes 3, 4, 5, or 6. It's a subcategory. And so I was like, okay, well, sure, doc, let's go for it. So she does the biopsy, which really is not that bad. It sounds scary, but if you ever have to have an eye biopsy, it really isn't bad. The worst part is they put this thing on your eye to hold it open, and there is a bright light, but they numb your eye up. You can't actually feel it. When they're done, there is a little bit of pain for the next night, maybe into the next morning. Your eye feels a bit scratchy, but it's really not that bad. The next day I went back in. She injected an antiviral into my eye, and then I saw her multiple times a week for a few weeks. I was on steroids and eye drops and taking an antiviral 3 times a day, and everything looked like it was going good for about a month. The inflammation, which was really high in my eye, was starting to go down. It looked really, really promising, you know, to the point where she was like, well, you do have some inflammation in your eye. I don't really want to give you, I could inject a steroid into your eye, which would bring the inflammation down. The trouble is that would risk the virus reactivating. She's like, we have to make, you know, I feel like the punishment should fit the crime, and I really don't think that's necessary. And I'm thinking, I'd prefer not to get another shot in my eye, and I kind of agree. It's a bit of inflammation. That's not so bad. You know, so we got to the point where she was like, hey, you're looking so good, I can wait 2 weeks to see you. And I was like, hey, yes, 2 whole weeks, doc. That's fantastic. Unfortunately, as we were tapering off the steroids that I had been given, it would seem that either the virus got kicked into overdrive, or it would seem that my eye got a bit eager in protecting itself and decided to create a shit ton of inflammation, which pretty much has caused my whole retina to detach. Yeah. So, I mean, I will hand it to my retina. It has totally detached 100%. It has gone balls to the wall. Moderation was never my strong suit. It's apparently not my eyes either. So, as a result, right now I can pretty much see light out of my left eye. My left eye that was my good eye and was the golden child eye is now clearly not. You know, the world looks very, very strange looking at the world through my right eye. I haven't used, really, my right eye in 29 years. Even when I had 20/800 when I was a kid, it was too hard for me to focus both eyes, so I just naturally didn't use my right eye. Yeah, so you wouldn't think it'd be that different, but it is. So the left eye can see light. It's like shaky light. If anyone remembers the old dial TVs, and you'd get it in between the 2 channels, and it would just kind of shake. That's what the whole thing looks like. The visual fields that I still have in it. So I wasn't gonna have surgery at all on the eye, because it's an eye. But my doctors did make a very convincing argument that my right eye does stand a chance of also detaching. And if that detaches and I lose all light perception, that does have knock-on health effects, such as, you know, deregulation of my circadian rhythm, which would not be good. And there's other research that suggests other health effects go along with you know, being totally blind. So I was like, okay, fine. So as a result of that, it would appear that my sparring career is over. I do have a black belt in martial arts, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, I can still do kata, and maybe I'll go into weightlifting. Maybe do a bit of tai chi. But not being able to spar again at not even 30 is kind of a bummer. Not only no sparring, but that also I was planning to get into jiu-jitsu. That's it's probably a no-go. You know, good news is, though, now I have built-in excuses to not ride roller coasters, so I don't have to tell people I'm scared of them even anymore. I'm just gonna say I'm not medically cleared to ride. And it's true. So, you know, not a complete loss. The only caveat about this whole surgery thing is it's a situation where I went to a retina specialist and she explained my cornea is a bit hard to see through. And so I also need a cornea transplant. And the insurance company will pay for to fix the retina detachment. They'll pay for the cornea transplant, but they won't pay for the cornea. So my doctor was so lovely and so nice, and she was like, "Oh my God, you know, I really want to help you, but you know, I don't have a good view in." So she first had me go see a different cornea doctor, who couldn't get it covered through insurance. So my two doctors, the doctor that's been with me throughout the main time, my uvea doctor and my retina doctor, contacted my uvea doctors, like a colleague that she had worked with, and they, you know, asked her, "Hey, can you try to run this, you know, through the county hospital?" And at first the county hospital was like, "Well, you have Medicaid, and so you don't qualify for this like gold card thing." And so they're like, "Well, let me talk to her again. Let's see what we can do." You know, so I have an appointment with her on Tuesday. Today is Thursday. So I have no idea if I'm still having said surgery, if I'm getting a cornea, if I'm getting a retina, if I'm just getting a retina. However, if I do end up with a cornea, fun fact, eye trauma could cause it to rupture. If that happens, I will definitely get photos. I don't think I can share them here on YouTube, but I will definitely have them. So yeah, that's kind of my expedited version of the Eye-dyssey. And I'm sure there will be more to come, and I definitely will update this channel with recovery and how that goes. And then hopefully we can get into more gardening and more like practical life skills. That's the idea. Ideally, things from cooking to planting, into just other random things. I am a guide dog user, so there will definitely be info about my said dog, and hopefully I'll do the best I can to describe my videos well enough so that anybody who's low vision or blind will be able to follow along, but not describe them so much that you sighted people get annoyed with it, because I get it. It's kind of annoying. So I'm not going to turn the comments on to any of my videos, because frankly I don't have time to be answering YouTube comments. I will set up an email address if anybody has any questions or anything they want me to cover, or any daily living skills you want to know about or interested in. So we'll see how this goes, and hopefully it's not a venture that I get tired of, but it is me, and you know, that might happen.